Hey guys, today we're going to be painting this really dramatic sky with billowy clouds and a nice bright field. I painted this on a wood panel. It's a birch and it's 8 by 8 inches square, but any surface or size similar should be just fine. We had lots of fun going from dark to light in the sky and then adding lots of texture in the clouds and nice pops of color down here. So it was a great piece to work on. Okay, let's get started. All right, I'm gonna start by prepping my wood panel here. It's already been gessoed and I'm just using a birch wooden panel that I cut down. It's 8 by 8, and I'm going to make my under painting color here, which is raw sienna and cadmium red hue. I'm working with a glass palette today, so that's fun. So let me just scoop a little bit of raw sienna and then cad red hue here. So the portions are a lot of raw sienna and a small amount of cad red hue. If I was to portion it out, I might say 1 part to 4 parts roughly, but that's just a guess. And if you don't have cad red hue, if you're working from the starter kit that Winsor Newton has, then you can just use raw sienna on its own, maybe put a little bit of permanent alizarin crimson in it, but I love this red because it makes it a bit of an orange color. It's my first time experimenting on the glass palette, so I think I'm gonna like it. Okay, and again, I've just got a selection of small brushes here. 2 of these are synthetics and the other 2 are hog hair bristles. So I tend to use both of them and you just get a feel for what you like. So whatever you've got, I'm just going to take my large brush, whatever your largest brush is, to do my background here, and my trusty water jar. Just dunk the brush in the water and then into your paint. Now again, I'm using water mixable oils. Can't do that with the regular oils, okay? But you can use solvent to thin it down. If you want to follow along with regular oils, that's just fine. Now we just go in painting the whole surface with this color here. Not concerned about my brush strokes at this stage. It's just to tone the canvas to a mid-tone. That's the goal here. And I always like to recommend, if you're the type that likes to do things start to finish, you may want to use acrylic for this step, because I will have to wait for this to dry in order to go in with color. So it'll be a 2-part tutorial here, but I'll attach them all together. So what I like to do is work on a couple of these guys, a couple of the underpaintings at a time, so I have them ready to go, because the underpainting doesn't take very long. It's a very quick stage. Okay, good enough. I'll rinse my brush out. And all I do is just kind of pat it down, stomp it down to the bottom of the jar, just to get the paint out. I've got lots of paper towel always beside me to dry them out. Now, my second stage of the underpainting is I like to use a purple, dioxazine purple, but you can use any dark color you have. So a blue would work fine, any blue. You can make a purple between a red and a blue if you like, but we're just looking for a dark shade here. And again, I use water. Just dunk your brush in the water or thinner, just to get the paint flowing a bit freer. And we're going to do a landscape today with some nice clouds. I want to do a really low horizon line, so I think I'll start somewhere down here with a small dip, and I'll put some shadows into this now while I am working on it. See here, kind of like to create, this one's going to be a bit of my imagination here. Kind of like to create lines that guide the viewer, so maybe it's guiding them, you know, the clouds will go up this way, so these lines can come in a little here. Something like that. Okay, and for the sky, let's see, I'd like some billowy clouds, but I'd also like a really dramatic dark blue to light. So let me get the shape of my clouds in, and maybe we'll think about the lines. Maybe it goes, okay, so and I like to start I usually work from photo pretty direct, but I'm playing around here, and with clouds, they kind of they're poofy at the top, and then as they get into the distance, they flatten out and become a little bit more horizontal. So maybe it runs right off the edge there and there. Okay. And I might put some shadows in here just to give me a sense of what this cloud is all about. But I'm not going to get overly detailed here, because a lot of this is just going to happen as we bring color in. I'll put some lines in here. And I'd like to work loose and fairly quickly with these small pieces, so it's not going to be very detailed here. So I'm just giving shape to some of these like lighter sections, and then I'll lighten them up as well. That's probably good for shadows. Now, I haven't painted on wood in a long time, so what I normally do with canvas is wipe off my paint for the light color. So let me just grab a bit of paper towel, see if I can do that. If not, we can go in with white paint, but let's try this. So I just take a little sheet of paper towel, fold it up so that I can dunk it in my water. Okay, and then squeeze it out because there's going to be a lot of water there. Just squeeze the majority of that out. Got a little on my palette, that's okay. Okay, now that I've got a wet paper towel, I'm going to go into my cloud and see, yeah, that's going to work. Okay, so this is just going to help you quickly remove light spots. So my cloud is fairly light. I like the paper towel because it also forces you to work fast and quick and not get bogged down with the details, but it really does give you some nice gestural shapes as well. And just with a little bit of pressure, you can really give some nice gradations here. You'll notice your paper towel getting dirty, and so you just kind of flip it around to a clean spot when you need to get more paint off. And that's working really nicely. I might just flip it over here. And it's still fairly light down here. You can go in with a brush too, so just take a brush, dunk it in some water or thinner for the smaller spots. Now you might have to every once in a while just clean it off. Because it's going to pick up a lot of paint there, and just kind of move it around. So it helps to have the paper towel handy and just dunk it in some fresh water every once in a while. And then you can even go back in with the paper towel. There you go. That's kind of a nice way to do it too. Dunk your brush in some water and then lay it down and then wipe it off. Gives you a little bit of control there. I don't want to take all of the color out of the clouds, but for the most part they're fairly light, so and I want to create that contrast between the cloud here and the sky. Nice. And then just kind of look at the overall thing and see where the lightest spots are and pull those out. It's just a guideline for our color stage, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just kind of setting us up here. So the better I can make this, the better the rest of it goes, but don't get too concerned about it. Should be fun and loose at this stage. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I can put lots more detail into the sky there with my color. I'm not going to worry about that. It gets my composition in and my basic lights and darks and midtones in, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so we'll stay tuned for part 2. I'll just give you a close-up here. You can see what we've got. Hey y'all, welcome to the second part of this tutorial. So I learned that wood dries really fast. So you could probably just wait about maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes and this should be dry because it sucks up the paint a lot faster. So good to know. So I'm going to carry on here with my tutorial. Okay, so this one is going to be big billowy clouds, nice blue sky, and some green down below. So let's do our grass, green grass first. I want to use a decent amount of yellow. I want it to be fairly light, so I'll just go in lightly with my my blue. Ever so carefully. Okay, that's a nice color. I might just take a bit of white because it's a bit saturated looking. Okay, scrape that off to the side. I want a couple shades in here, so I'm gonna get some more yellow, and I might just mix it up with a touch of that shade and a touch of white. Now it's a little bit too like citrusy, so I'm gonna add, I might just take some of my raw sienna because that'll be a nicer, softer touch. There we go. Okay, that's nice. And then we need a dark green as well. So let's take a decent scoop of that and a small scoop of that one. I guess it's a scrape, not a scoop. Now again, it's a little cool, which could work for that background, but overall I think I'd like to warm it up. So I'll just take a touch of red. I used alizarin crimson, but any red to warm it up. Right. Okay, so I got some nice colors here. A dark, a light, and a mid, sort of two lights and a dark, I guess. Okay. Just adding a little more yellow to my palette. I use the big tubes because I paint large normally, so they are very economical. Okay, I think I'll start now with my grassy bit here. So I'm gonna go with the dark first. And that's gonna be typically where I have my darks in here with the purple. So this back ridge is pretty dark. It's fun to see the differences between painting on wood and canvas. There's a real big difference. The wood seems to be so much more absorbent, so it dries faster, which might be good for some. I don't mind it with these little ones. And it goes on a little smoother too. I just bought a sheet of 4 foot by 8 foot, what is it, birch, yeah. And cut them down to these little squares. This one's 8 by 8, but any size is good. I like the small sizes because you can do them fairly quickly. I'll just throw a touch of this in here. It's kind of thin, but that's good because I don't want too much up there. Okay, now I'll go in with my green. My brush is getting a little crazy on me here. I might switch. Sometimes the bristles go a little awry. This one's getting a little like he needs a haircut. Sometimes water helps, but let me just see. I might just switch to this one. Okay. I'll take some green. Now this is gonna go here. And I'll throw some of it over here. I don't want the green everywhere. I'm going to mix the green and the yellow. But I will dabble it in here. It's nice to show the lines too with these brush strokes. Okay, now I'll go in with the yellow. Now this is all wet on wet, so just be mindful of that, because when they touch they will blend very quickly on you, which is okay, as long as that's what you like. Kind of like this looseness here, and some of that orange popping through seems to be working nicely. Okay, I think I'll go with a little bit of white and some of this yellow and just mix a light yellow here and throw that in. Now when you want it to stick, load up your brush nice and thick and then hold your brush parallel instead of perpendicular to the surface, and it'll drag right off instead of scraping off. So it just helps the paint to stick better when it's all wet like this. And I'm just kind of throwing a little bit into the distance here. I want the front to be fairly light. Okay, looking good. Now I might mix just by hand here. I might just take some raw sienna and mix it right on my palette. And just give me a darker shade. And again, it's so thick, so I'll have to go very perpendicular here. I'm just trying to thicken up some of these areas a little bit here. And I might cover some of that dark. It's pretty dark. Maybe I will take some of this light green and dark green and make a new softer green. Yeah, that's nice. And I'm just going to throw that down here to soften this darkness up. And maybe a little bit down here. Every once in a while, if you need more paint, also handy to scrape it up and give yourself a little bit of a roll there. It creates more paint that you can load up on your brush. Okay, I'm trying to resist the urge to overblend it because I like to keep it fairly impressionistic, just a touch in here. Okay, that's pretty good. I think I'll leave it at that. So I'll clean my brush out with some water. And now the fun part. Well, that was fun, but the sky is going to be really fun with some blues here. So we want to make a nice bright blue. So I'll take a good amount of French ultramarine, some white, now I personally usually use phthalo blue because I find French ultramarine is a bit on the purple side, but for demos I might interchange it. The starter set comes with these colors, so I want it to be as close to that as I can, the little starter artisan set. So, whoops, talking and not thinking, too much yellow. So yeah, you just play with what you like. If you want to just buy individual paints, do that. If you got the starter set, that's cool too. Whatever you have, use what you've got. And don't get worried about having the exact same stuff that I have here. Okay, now I like that color. I do like that. So I will pull that off to the side. We're going to need a lighter version as well, so what I can do is just steal some of that, add some white. Maybe a little bit more color, so I have some yellow there and blue. A little bit more. Okay. And then there's going to be kind of a light purple. Let me get some more paint here. Just want to add some titanium white to my palette. Okay, I'm going to do a purpley gray shade. So I'll just take a touch of crimson, alizarin crimson, and phthalo blue. Again, substitute whatever blue or red you're using. Obviously there's differences between them, but you can tweak it to get pretty similar results. That's a nice shade. I'm going to dull it down a touch with some yellow, and a trick I like to do is pull from my palette. So if I'm not using this anymore, I'll just steal some of that. It just tones it down enough so that it's not too bright. Okay, that's good. Maybe a touch more white. Yeah. Okay, set that aside. Now I just want to play with the blue a little bit. I'm going to mix one more shade and see if I can get a slightly brighter color. Now that's really bright, too bright for me, so I'm just going to add yellow carefully. pretty bright still, but you know what? It might work. Let's go for it. Okay. Okay, so just throw that down there. Now, I always like to use the biggest brush I have when I can, so I might bring out this big guy here. Now the sky goes, typically skies are dark at the top and lighten at the bottom. Not always, but it's a good general rule. So I'll use the dark one at the top and fade it out. I want to give it a little bit of a swoop as well. So I can do that with my brush work. Now because I did go pretty dark with this one, that might be enough. Let's see. That's the nice thing with these hog hair bristles, is you can really rub it in here. It's pretty thin and the underpainting's showing through, which is okay. I don't mind that because it kind of warms it up. Now I think I'll switch to this color and start to lighten it up. I'm just going to paint around my clouds. And I'll decide how far I want to go down here, maybe about there. And I got a swoopy kind of action here too. And then I'm just gonna blend the two. Bringing up some of this lighter color. It's a little thin, so I'm just gonna lay it down a little thicker in spots. Maybe throw this color in a little thicker too. It's really nice to have some bold lines in your brushwork. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'll just use my paper towel and rub my brush. I don't want to wet it because then my paint will get thin, and I don't want to do that at this stage. So I'll go in with the light. And I'm not going to blend them just yet. I'm just going to throw this light color in here. I think it'll go all the way down here. And then the gray purple can be used in my clouds. The other thing with using the bigger brush, obviously, sounds obvious, but you paint faster, right? Because you're covering more surface. So it can make it a little bit more enjoyable because you don't get hung up on all the little details. So I do like to use my big brush when I can. Okay, now we can start to blend these two. Now what I might do also is just take my brush and blend a little of this light color into whatever I have left here, creating another color. Okay, this is going to be fun. So now we can create some lines in here. So we're working wet on wet. So I don't want to over blend it, but I do want to soften them up. Okay, now it's a bit of a harsh line there, so let me try to smooth those out. I can put a little of this up here too. Okay, I kind of like the dramatic look of that. So if you want to, you can smooth it out a little bit more, but I think I really like this, the way it is. Okay, so now we'll go to our cloud. I'll just run my brush on the paper towel here. And let's see, perhaps I will stick with this big brush as long as I can. Now this is a great color for the shadows in the clouds. And it's going to get a little tricky with this big brush, so I might switch to a smaller brush. Okay, that's pretty good. We got away with quite a lot with that big brush. Now I'll switch over to this one just because I have a little bit more control. This medium flat brush. Let's see here. Okay, now I'm going to start to put in some of the light. So we've got to mix some light colors here. And I'm using this brush along the bottom, and it blurs the two together there nicely, kind of just softly blending that. Okay, so let's mix some white. So I'll just move this out of the way. I might take my wet paper towel and wipe this area in the middle down so that I can keep my white a little bit more white. I'm really happy with this glass palette. It's working really nicely. Okay, so I'm gonna mix a couple shades. Let's do we'll take just a touch of this light purple. So we got a light, very white, but just a touch of that purple in there. And then maybe one that's a little bit more on the yellow side. So take some of this. Okay, and perhaps one that's kind of in between, sort of more gray, I should say. Okay, so we have a blue, yellow, and purpley kind of white. Now I'm going to use my brush. I will clean it out right now, just to make sure that I'm getting the lightest colors I can. So just make sure that you pat out all the water, okay, on your paper towel. And I think I'll work dark to light, so they're all kind of light, but I'll do the blue first and work up from there. So I'm gonna put some, basically I'll hug these shadowed areas with the blue, and I'm trying not to brush too much because I really want to keep it loose here. I can blend the colors after, but I just want to lay down my shapes here. And there's a lot more horizontal lines at the bottom where the clouds are sort of in the distance. It's really nice to work wet on wet because you get some magical things happening here. Okay, I think I'll switch to this purple now. So it's a little bit lighter. So you see, the more brush work, more brush strokes I do, the more it blends it. So I'm trying to not blend it too much at this stage. And also brush with the shape again with everything. So give those clouds some form and shape. And then when you get to the edges, that's kind of fun too, so we can start to blend it a little softer. And maybe we leave some of the orange showing in a few little spots. Okay, I might go in with the yellow now. And this is kind of the highlight. So I'm trying to make those edges a little bit sharper between the light and the dark. Okay, now I just have to sort of fill in the gaps here. So I might dabble between the three colors a little bit. Let's see. I also want to make sure I get my brightest brights in as well. And some pure white might go in here, I'm not sure just yet. Now we can start to soften things up on the edges a little. And some parts might even just totally blend into this background. Just depends on, you know, how you feel about it. It softens them up nicely to sort of blend them in spots. I like to leave some spots really sharp, but some spots, because the clouds kind of dissipate into the sky a little. Okay, now I might just take whatever I've got left here. It's a bit pinky. Of my white. And again, think about loading your brush because it's so thick right now. I gotta get a nice bead of paint on there. So nice thick application, and then hold your brush parallel so that that paint drags nicely off the brush and sticks to our canvas. It's looking good. I'll just soften a couple spots here. I sort of blur my eyes too, and that helps me see things. So where it's a little bit sharp, I'm just going to blend, sort of smudge things a little bit. Okay, I don't want to take out too much of this because I really like what's happening. Let's go in with a little bit more white. Okay, and I'm just going to take white straight from the tube. Some say you shouldn't do that, but hey, it's my rules. I'm going to break them if I want to. You're the one that decides what you do. Nobody else. This is really nice and thick. Maybe a couple more spots. A little bit of blue down there. Okay, I'm really happy with this one. Super fun, fast. I've got a little of my underpainting showing and I like that. I think I'll leave it at that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this really dramatic sky cloud painting. Lots of texture. All right, guys, take care.